Not quite as long as last time, but it is working. Welcome to episode 112 of the Mighty Whites podcast. I'm Jack, as always, joined by Casey.
Oh.
How are you doing, mate? All good?
Yeah, not too bad.
Well, that's always good to hear. It's a bit of a, I say a rushed one. We'd normally go under an hour, but this time we've got to, because I want to watch the under-18s in the Youth Cup at 7. So we'll jump straight into it. Leeds 0, Chelsea 0. Really good result. This was much better than I was expecting.
Yeah, we were both fairly pessimistic at the end of the last podcast. And what was it? You predicted a 3-0 defeat. I predicted 2-0. We had a couple of decent chances in there without really testing Mendy too much outside of, I think, Robert's effort. There was not the glance of a fingertip onto the bar.
Yeah, that was a properly world-class save. You don't see saves that often that make you think that really was outstanding, but that one was.
Yeah, it was one of those where I didn't get to watch this because I had to work, but so I was texting you at times, going, "Oh God, what's happened to Bamford? Yeah. Oh God, why's Rodrigo come off?"
Yeah, you did have to catch up afterwards, didn't you? I obviously watched all of it. It was a pretty good game, and if we were looking at it the way that we'd look at a lot of Leeds games, like Chelsea were better. Of the two sides, they did look the better side. But I would say actual out-and-out really great chances. I thought we had 2 and they had 1. They had the Havertz chance where they played it into the box and Calvin Phillips ran in the opposite direction for no apparent reason. I know we play man-to-man, but I think that was a bit ridiculous. But luckily the shot wasn't great and went pretty much straight at Meslier.
I think that's why the shot wasn't that great, to be honest, is that Havertz was so confused by Calvin Phillips' tactic of running away from him. It really threw him off.
Yeah. And then, but for us, like there was the Rodrigo header from the corner where he was completely unmarked, sort of 11 yards out, that he should have done better with. And that Rafinha one where Roberts does well down the left, cross, Rodrigo knocks it down. And Rafinha lets it run across his body, gets a left foot shot away, but he doesn't catch it clean. And Mendy is going the wrong way and manages to dive back and save it, which is a really good save. But if Rafinha even hits that 50% as well as you would expect him to, that goes in. And he just didn't catch it. So even though I thought Chelsea had overall the best of the game, I thought Leeds had 2 of the best 3 chances. So overall, I'd say a draw was probably about right.
Yes, I mean Chelsea were also put off as well by that terrible Victor Orta shouting from the stands.
Yeah, they didn't seem pleased with him, and I suppose Victor Orta's one of those people, and if he's on your side, you like someone like that, but you'd want to kill him if he was against you.
Look, I know Tommy wasn't in charge last time we played them, but they had 2,000 fans going every time Llorente got the ball last time we played them. I think they can deal with Victor Orta having a bit of a shout.
Yeah. It was great to see us keep a clean sheet in a game like this, and it was what I believe is another new partnership for us of Struijk and Llorente.
Yeah. Very good. I know obviously the circumstances around it aren't what you want. Liam Cooper is ill, and that is that apparently.
Yeah, we can all say everyone in the world is presuming it's because he's got COVID. Now, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's right. It would make sense given what Steve Clarke said, but he isn't calling up for Scotland because he might be available for the 3rd one, but we don't know. It does all add up, but we don't know. And Leeds have got an official position now where they never say if someone does or not, unless you're Patrick Bamford talking about Meslier.
It's like watching WWE's products over the last year. You know there is a virus going around, but damn it, they're not going to tell you about it.
Yeah.
No, I was quite happy to see Struijk come back in just because of how well he's played so far. Llorente again, I think, is is looking good, whilst also kind of settling into things still, I think. And obviously probably what have helped him, because what will this be his 6th appearance for us?
That sounds about right.
So yeah, 6 appearances, and he's got a new friend to play alongside now as well. But yeah, I think Strike did well. Llorente did fine. I'm always amazed whenever I see Llorente popping up on the edge of the penalty area at times.
Yeah, he does. He steps out well with the ball. Those passes that he tries to play quite decisive. But he seems to have that instinct. If they don't press him, his first instinct does appear to be, oh, you've left me 30 yards of space. That means I should move forward 30 yards.
Yeah, there was the pullback, wasn't there, where it's one of those where, again, even me watching in the highlights, kind of doing a double take, we're just going, sorry, have we just pulled that back to the edge of the area for Llorente to have a shot? Isn't that where Stuart Dallas should be?
Yeah, well, I can't remember which game it was earlier in the season, but he had one denied at from sort of 6 yards out, didn't he? Where in open play he'd worked his way forward.
Yeah.
So the way he's playing, you would think playing like that, if he stays in the team, he'd probably end up with a couple of goals. And I'm assuming that them two are going to keep their place for a while going forward, but it is worth mentioning that Robin Koch made his comeback in the under-23s on Monday, playing as a holding midfielder.
Yeah, that's several £1 million saved in the summer. Then that's Calvin's backup sorted.
Yep. No one needs Tayon Cooper.
Just the hands thrustling.
Yeah.
There you go.
I thought the other main thing to talk about from this game was Bamford went off with a knock, but by the sounds of it, he's okay and should be fine for the Fulham game. So, as worrying as it was, we don't need to worry about it too much. Did you read? I know you were catching up highlights-wise because of work, but did you read much into Rodrigo going off, having been brought on as a sub?
No, outside of I think the header he should have done better with. That wasn't. I've not seen a lot of Rodrigo, and again, when I text you, I wasn't sure if it was a case of has he been terrible, or is it just no, he is only fit to play 45 minutes or whatever it was. So that we are taking him off now. Or...
Well, he did play pretty much dead on 45 minutes, so that's what I would think is the right thing. I think his plan was probably he's coming on at half time or he's coming on at the hour mark. But half a game is his maximum, and he ended up playing a lopsided half a game. Stephen Horseman sent the message saying, I believe Rodrigo hasn't been the same since he was out with COVID, considering how long it took St. Maximin to return and stuff like that. Which is a fair point. It maybe hasn't been as good, but I still think with Rodrigo, even without that, I think him missing pre-season and stuff hasn't helped. When you look at him, because there's been the talk of him, there was a lot of worries about his injury record before we signed him. And it's come out in his press conference today that he's injured again and he's probably out for Friday. As much as I still think Rodrigo with a run of games will end up being good for us, there is an argument that this money should have been spent in a different way.
On a slightly younger model, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough because, he is a quality player. Like, there's no denying that from certainly from what I've seen of him this season. I think his link-up play with Bamford at times has been fantastic, and has been one of the big reasons Bamford's done so well in the first half of this season.
It hasn't always been there, but there has been some games where you just see it between them and think, oh, there's what we're missing.
Yeah. And to be honest, I think when he came in, I dare say he'll have probably known he was going to be playing as a 10 at times, but I don't think even he thought he'd end up playing as deep in midfield as he has done at times.
Yeah.
Same with Tyler Roberts, I suppose, at this stage.
Yeah. And Sam Greenwood, for that matter.
Well, They're children. You can do what you want with them.
Watches. You don't want to say that,
Sorry,
especially
yeah.
today of all days when that report's just come out.
Yeah, fair point.
Yeah,
it's okay. It's okay. I have an enhanced CRB check. I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm not going to start referring to you as Dario Guardi. Well, I've mentioned the under-23 game on Monday. Did you get to see any of it?
No, I had to work through this as well.
Yeah, no, because you are now finished at that place, but you weren't as on Monday.
The 7 seconds of that game I have seen are that lovely gif of Cresswell. I wanted to say dribbling out the back, but waltzing his way out the back.
Yeah, waltzing, I think, is a more accurate term. Leeds under-23s beat Newcastle under-23s 2-1. It was first half, Leeds miles better side. Second half, Newcastle came back into it. It was Gelhardt won the penalty for the first goal, which he scored himself. Second goal with Charlie Cresswell with a header from a corner, which was a really good header. But the main things out of this were Koch came back, looked pretty solid in midfield. It gave away quite a lot of fouls, but they weren't in dangerous areas. But on the ball, he looked good. He just settled back in quite well. Poveda looked quite dangerous. Gelhardt stood out a mile again. And with the news of Rodrigo being injured, I'm hoping it means Gelhardt might get a couple of shots off the bench.
Leif Davis is our backup striker.
Yeah, Leif Davis is injured.
Oh, God, we're fucked.
Yeah, so it's over. Yeah, there's it was good to see them playing so well. Like Jenkins played the first half as like an 8 and did okay, but he looked better when he dropped back. They were all playing well, but there's something like 16 points clear now, so they're pretty much promoted.
Champions.
Yeah, and that's going to be interesting for next season. If they go up, will the standard at the very top level of under-23s football be anything like the standard of actual football?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a bit, because obviously you kind of look at the model that sort of Man City and Chelsea and the bigger, richer teams adopt, and especially with under-23s football, most of their best players are going to be out on loan, you'd imagine. Whereas us, it seems to be kind of my theory at the moment was, especially with the players brought in this year, is to give them a year to kind of learn the system and learn the style of play, then send them out on loan.
Yeah, Kieran O'Hare pointing out that the teams below do have 2 or 3 games in hand, so they do still need a couple of wins. It's
so basically, reading that, we're going to get relegated and Fulham are going to be safe.
Yeah, we'll find a way to mess it up. Now, the other player that I should have mentioned, because I forgot to mention him because he stands out every week now. Cody Drama looked really good again. I would have absolutely no qualms if we had to throw him into a first team game out of nowhere.
I know it will never happen, but I would like if we come away from, I think essentially if we get a win out of the next 2 games, I'd go out on a limb and pretty much say we're safe. And I wouldn't mind just for the last few games of the season to just make 1 or 2 changes to the lineup and just have a look at a couple of players and either throw in Niall Huggins to start a game just because you can at that point, or throw in Drama. And I'm not saying throw all the kids in at once because that's not going to do anything. But if you have your full first team and swap Alioski with Huggins for a game, I don't think it's going to hurt us all that much.
No, and he obviously did make his debut away at Arsenal, but his level of performance, having dropped back from such an attacking role to now be someone who seems to be able to play full back either side, especially at left back, and play through midfield, I think his performances have earned if he gets a shot, even if the shot is him justifying where his loan move is next season.
Yeah, and there's a few in there, like you say, quite nice to see Gelhardt sort of make an appearance. There's an argument for Sam Greenwood coming in, Cody Drama. Even seeing Cresswell come in, all of them, put them on. You know what? Actually, I've changed my mind. Put them all in. Rest of the season.
I'll tell you, Charlie Cresswell is a bit unlucky that we actually finally have some centre backs, because his performances have been good enough that any other year, with the number of injuries we've had at centre back and the number we've had, any other year we'd be saying you should be playing him. Even the first half of his season, maybe his consistency of the last 8 games, if we were still in that position earlier in the season where we didn't have any fit centre backs, you would be going, I'll just play him.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think, because obviously last season, Ben White was the ever-present Cooper, and then obviously, Strike was he wasn't even really third choice, was he?
No, because Berardi was ahead of him for most of the season.
It was Berardi and then Ayling.
Yeah.
We've got loads of centre backs.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of people are on about it now, and it is completely fair, but even the people that really rated Strauch can't have been expecting him to be this good, this quick. This level of performance that he's pulled out. I think that if you just, in the way that last season, when you looked at the record, the actual best record for just games he's played, how many goals have they conceded? It was Berardi last season who actually had the best record. Yeah. Well, that's what Strauch's like this season. His record is far and away the best.
Yeah, I think, and I'm gonna take the Cardiff game out of things last season, because
he just had a nightmare day. It happens.
Him and everyone else in the last half hour, it turned out.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that's so surprising is that he's someone who stepped up, and it wasn't even really in the run-in. It was the final 4 games, I want to say.
Yeah, well,
it was because it was the Barnsley game that he stood out when he played holding mid in that one.
Yeah, I was going to say that was the only one he played that actually mattered.
Yeah,
all of the other ones were post-promotion, weren't they, in that run?
Yeah. So the idea of him kind of making this step up from, I've played a handful, playing 3, let's say, meaningful championship games, 2 games that didn't really matter, and then next up you've got Liverpool away.
Yeah. Who, luckily for him, of course, don't have that much attacking talent.
Yeah. Sorry, and I'm going to play alongside the new lad who's not fully fit either,
and has only trained with us 4 times or whatever it was.
Yeah. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster for him this year in terms of he's now partnered with everyone, with all the other central defenders at some point. And yeah, he's really growing into this at centre back. I don't want to get into talking about him at holding mid, because it's been done to death at this point. But I feel like when he's been at centre back, he looks so calm, so assured. I think he's exactly what Bielsa looks for in a centre back. And I know it's probably a bit of a cliche to say, or a stereotype about someone who's come out of Ajax's academy, but he's a centre back that looks really comfortable on the ball. It's hardly surprising from there. But yeah, as I said before, for me, he could stay in the team for the rest of the season now. I think that should be his shirt to lose.
Yeah. Obviously, he's played well enough that he's played his way into international contention. Belgium tried to call him up. The Dutch only wanted to call him up for under-21s, but we'll see how that goes. He hasn't accepted either at the minute. The other non-England one to mention that will have been of no surprise to anyone who plays Football Manager, Helder Costa's been called up by Angola.
Yeah, fair play to him.
Yeah. I actually thought that he just had Angolan heritage, and that's why it happened, but he was actually born in Angola, it turns out, and moved to Portugal quite young.
By the way, this is definitely an aside and more just a personal conversation between the two of us, but on our online Football Manager save, Rafinha is now Italian.
Oh.
Yeah, I forgot to mention it. But
I did know that he had an Italian passport because it came up when Leeds were looking at signing him. It did come up, but I didn't realise that. I never noticed.
Yeah, no caps, but he's just switched nations now.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm hoping that Helder Costa goes, plays in these African Cup of Nations qualifiers, does well, and it gets him some confidence, because the ability is still there, but we just don't see it often enough. The main one is 2 p.m. tomorrow. The England squad's announced. If they're all fit, I mean, Calvin Phillips is pretty much assured to be in there if he's fit enough. Because he's only just come back from injury, there is always a chance that there'll have been a word between the club and Southgate and stuff to say maybe let him miss these ones.
Mm.
But because he's still so young in his international career, you would think he'd go. Now, there was a story in The Guardian earlier today that Southgate was seriously looking at calling up Patrick Bamford and Luke Ayling. Obviously, we would both be very pleased for both of them if it happens, but what do you reckon is the chances?
The Luke Ayling one's a little bit tougher to see just because there's a lot of English left backs. That's right. I've done it now as well.
Yeah, I've done that about 4 times. I don't know why.
There's Southgate system, just all right backs everywhere. There's a lot of players you've kind of got to think are in the pecking order ahead of him. But bearing in mind, I don't want to speak too highly of a scum player on this podcast, but Aaron Wan-Bissaka does not feature for England at all. He costs £50 million.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't get me wrong on this. I think Luke Ayling is completely deserving of a call-up. I think it would be perfectly reasonable. And also with the way Southgate plays, it's an option of a right-back who is also very comfortable playing as a right-sided centre-back in a three. In terms of the way he plays, bringing the ball out, progressive passing, progressive yardage, running with the ball, I think he fits the bill. I think he would be a really good player to call up. The thing is, England have got about 9 right-backs and 7 of them are younger than him. So that's why I just don't see it happening. I really hope I'm wrong, but I just don't see it happening. But with the number of times he's come to watch Leeds, and I know Southgate's doesn't he live in Harrogate? Isn't he one of them?
Yeah, he lives in Harrogate, so it's a very easy trip for him to make.
Yeah, but I do think he's going to call up Bamford.
Yeah, I mean, I find it quite funny. There was an article in the Athletic earlier, and I think Jack Harrison's name was also kind of mentioned in there. And again, I love Jack Harrison. He is my favourite player in the squad. But again, I just think on the wings there is a dearth of talent there that I think, and especially 2 months ago, I could have seen it. But his form recently, especially, is going to take away from that. But I mean, I always think with strikers, and this happens every time a World Cup rolls around, is that you always find that for whatever reason there is an English striker who the highest goal scoring English striker never really gets picked. Like happened to Darren Bent quite a few times, and Jermaine Defoe and players like that, where they'd be the top scoring English striker, and whoever was in charge would just go, yeah, but we'll play Wayne Rooney and Emile Heskey, it'll be fine. Bamford's up there. He's second top goal scoring English striker, possibly second top goal scoring English player.
Yeah, I'd really love him to get a chance, and just play him in the first qualifier. Because it's San Marino at home. What have you got to lose? I still maintain that for San Marino at home, there should be it's 20 quid a ticket. Every man between the ages of 16 and 45 is allowed to buy a ticket. 20 quid each. Winner gets to play up front. 10 England internationals and you against San Marino. You're guaranteed a minimum of 20 minutes because it's 20 quid a ticket. I think that 20% of the time the guy will score a goal.
I can't help but feel that guy is going to get two-footed very early on. Just in protest of, no, I'm not having some lad off the streets come and score against us.
They can have their bus with 350 million for the NHS. This is how you raise money for the fucking NHS. This is how you do it.
I said to you earlier, I understand that you have to get these matches in because it's qualification for a World Cup. I also can't help but feel you probably could have, for a year, made an exception and just had redrawn the groups smaller.
Or just cancel the upcoming friendly ones and play them then.
Yeah.
Because there will be some friendlies between now and the World Cup that you could get rid of and play World Cup qualifiers in.
Yeah.
So that you could probably delay these by 6 months.
But I do think, especially with it being World Cup qualifying, there's a little bit of disrespect in it. I don't want to say no disrespect because it's always going to be a little bit disrespectful. The teams we come up against in qualifying, you can afford to throw a few players in for their first caps.
Yeah, especially the San Marino game.
Yeah. Sorry, San Marino, that is a bit disrespectful, but
Yeah, like Albania, although they're not a powerhouse by any means, they've got some decent players. They defend solidly, and then we're playing Poland in game after, and Poland are a good side with some really good players.
Yeah,
mostly Mateusz Klich, but I suppose Lewandowski's all right as well. So yeah, I'm just hoping. I'd love to see a couple of Leeds players in the England team because, truth be told, it's hard for me to even care enough about the qualifiers and stuff like that to actually watch them. Don't get me wrong, when a tournament comes around, I completely flip the switch and completely care. But through the qualifying, I find it hard to motivate myself to watch it. But if there's Leeds players involved, I will.
I don't know why you bother watching England. That our Lord is returning to international football. Zlatan is back.
Yeah, in terms of form, it's perfectly fair enough.
What a way to announce you're back in international football. God is back.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I'm glad to hear him say something like this because I've always thought he's lacked confidence going into that.
Yeah. No, I think this would be a time, if you're Gareth Southgate, you pick your core squad, and then I'd probably be tempted to choose a number of players who haven't featured before, because I think if you're a club manager of any of the teams that are still in the cup competitions or still in Europe, you've got to be thinking, God, like, if one of those players gets injured on international duty, you'd want to punch Southgate in the face. Like, just over and over, just shouting, why did you pick Harry Kane? Why have you done this to us?
Well, I can understand the desire to want to punch Gareth Southgate in the face. I was there when they beat us 2-1 at Ellen Road, and he scored them both. And he hadn't scored for about 2 years.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'd love to see... Obviously, we all love to see the Leeds players in an England shirt, but I think at this point, I'm kind of dreaming of a team that's, Ayling, Bamford, Leeds' own Stuart Dallas, get him in there.
Yeah, oh God, it's been happening again on Twitter. Loads of Leeds fans making that joke, and loads of people who don't understand it's a joke getting really mad.
Yeah. But to be honest, Dalton's not there. Like, Jack Harrison, get him in. I think Cody Drammer's probably earned a call up at this point.
Yeah.
Sam Greenwood in centre mid.
He's a right back, he's Cody Drammer.
Oh, no. Why? I'll get Joe Gallagher in there then.
Yeah, Joffrey should play. And hopefully we might get to see 20 minutes of him on Friday night. Fulham away. Fulham, I know they've played some decent stuff lately. They have improved a lot compared to them at the start of the season, but they're not that good. Unfortunately, Fulham's in London, so I have no confidence whatsoever. It's quite hard to pin down what it'll be tactically, because I went back through their last 6 games, and they played 4-2-3-1 twice, 4-3-3 twice, and 4-4-2 twice. So and all with similar players because they'll just, they'll play Lookman out wide or they'll push him up front if they want to play 4-4-2. So you can't really tell what sort of formation we're going to be in. They have got a pretty good squad. Like, not a great squad, but a good enough squad that you can see how, now that they're playing something like that, they're starting to pick up results. They do have the players there. It's not like Sheffield United where you look at that squad and think, I know they did well last season, but there isn't anyone in that squad that you're that fussed for. Like, obviously, Tosin Adarabioyo I've been banging on about for years, centre back with Anderson, who looks pretty decent. Harrison Reed and Andre Frank Zambo Anguissa in middle. And if Fulham went down, I'd quite like us to sign Anguissa. He looks pretty good. Up top.
There's also the reality television star, Josh Madger. I don't know, it was a documentary, but I'm sticking with reality television star.
When you said that, I was like, what, has he been on like I'm a Celebrity? And I didn't know, but yeah, Sunderland Till I Die, he was on. Madger will almost certainly play up front, probably Lookman and Cavallero either side if they play with one up top. Mitrovic will be on the bench because they have now realised the thing that they actually realised late last season, that they're a better team without him.
Yeah, they can actually play a bit of football when he's not there.
Yeah. So in their team, who stands out for you?
I think obviously I think we've spoken a lot about Tosin on this before and how we've both been in love with him since we saw him in that Youth Cup game.
Yeah.
To be honest, I've been quite impressed with Bobby De Cordova-Reid this season. I think the times when he's been in, he's looked quite good. Ademola Lookman is a good player as well. When I watched them last week against Man City, that their first half display was kind of what you want if you were a team in that position. What you'd want to see in that. There is no point trying to defend for 90 minutes against Man City to try and get a draw, because you just at the end of the day, a point from that game is really probably not going to do a whole lot for you, even at this stage of the season. Whereas for them, if they can pluck 2 wins out of this, you're still then chasing down Newcastle and Brighton. The one thing that kind of gives me a bit of encouragement is that from Man City's pressing, it caused them to make a few mistakes. Which is what led to the goals. Well. Yeah, so I'm hoping that if we can get our pressing going quickly and force them into those areas, that we can kind of capitalise on that.
Yeah, from the way that they did have a real go, and it didn't work out, but they've been having a go in a few games, which has certainly helped them. Kieran O'Hare, who writes for Through It All Together with us, just said, I think Fulham tend to match us in midfield, and we've always found them difficult to deal with tactically. Now, it's sort of weird because the last game, I do know what he means, because obviously they did start getting a run on us and scoring goals, but we were also 4-1 up and cruising before we completely switched off. So it's a bit of an odd one with Fulham, because they've definitely got the players to match us in midfield. Like, if they play a 4-2-3-1 and it's, let's say it's Reed and Anguissa in middle, and Anguissa stood out an absolute mile in that game, and then maybe Loftus-Cheek as a 10. That is a strong midfield three that can really cause problems. Obviously, we said earlier, Bamford is expected to be over his knock, no Rodrigo. So, is there any changes from the Chelsea game?
No, I don't think so. I don't know I don't see why, outside of injury worries, you'd want to change anything from that. I think it's just going to be a couple of changes on the bench more than anything else. Obviously, you got to watch the game more than I did. So, is there a possibility that we might swap Costa with Harrison again?
Well, I think Harrison will keep his place after playing in that one. I think Harrison plays. I do think Alioski will keep his place at left back because he'll want Dallas in middle of midfield still. When Click came on, it was only a 10-minute cameo, but he did, and this makes sense obviously for logical reasons, but he did like run his bollocks off and chase everything down. So there is an argument for playing Dallas left back and bringing Click back, but I don't like Click and Roberts together. I never have done. So no. I would play, and Roberts was well, I mean, he got given man at match by BT, but I think he was definitely up there for man at match call. I think I gave him it on for it altogether as well. So I can't see him changing the Dallas-Roberts partnership. So I'd be very surprised if anything changes unless someone's injured. Llorente and Strout playing together looked really good.
Yeah. I do feel sorry for Roberts at this point because he is just... I can't imagine he imagined essentially playing more as an 8 at this point of the season. Like, I know he's meant to be a bit more attacking, and I don't know if that's just because of our performances over these last 2 months, that because we've been losing, we've lost 5 out of the last 7 or something like that. That naturally he's had to play a bit deeper. But so he's another one. If we get to the last couple of games, I'd quite like to just play him up front for 2 games just to have a look and see if he could be anything like a Premier League striker.
Yeah. I think that the Chelsea game suited him a bit better because Chelsea played free at the back. It meant he could push up a bit more, and that got him into some nicer areas. Like, I think it was Josh Hobbs on Twitter that was saying, if you look at his last few games, if he doesn't have those goals disallowed, and like if we get the other end at Greenwood, stuff like that, he has 2 goals and assists in the last 5, and all of a sudden you'd probably look at his performances differently.
Yeah.
Which, perception-wise, he's probably right. There probably is something to that. Ali's just sent the message saying their right side looks strong enough to cause us problems down our left, but I fancy it to be too strong for them now that Calvin's back.
Super Calvin.
Yeah, Super Calvin. But that is a fair point. Like, you don't really know who. Like, they could play Lookman on the right. They could play Cavallero on the right. They'll have Kenny Tete overlapping from right back. They have got options there, and obviously, if they're running at Alioski, as much as you get lots of endeavour out of Alioski, you can see him beating him.
Yeah, it's like I said. If we can get on top of them and get the high press going early and force them into those errors, then obviously we aren't going to be as clinical as Man City. Even a Man City team that now doesn't need strikers because you've got Gundogan just as your deep lying midfielder that seems to be scoring every other week now. Yeah. But it definitely puts us on, can put us on the front foot then and create some chances, and hopefully Bamford can end his little dry spell. I think the one thing I've kind of thought of realize out of this is, and it's not really a secret or anything like that, but we are starting to get a bit short on goals from people other than Bamford.
Well, as goal scoring has definitely dropped off. I mean, off the top of my head, I don't know how many it is. Is it 5 at last 7 we haven't scored?
Yeah, I think we're three straight games now without a goal, aren't we?
Yeah, and I think in the first half it's a few more. Like we haven't been as good in attack as we have been, and teams aren't overcommitting as much against us, which is probably a big reason for it. And we're probably not quite playing as well in attack as we have done at other stages of the season. But I still think we're doing fine. Like, there's still been, in those games that we haven't scored, I still think that we've created enough chances that we could have. Even if it hasn't been loads of them, there's been some.
I think the thing I find in looking at people's reactions on social media is that even if you ask them now, are you happy with the position we're in? I think most people would say yes, outside of the few lunatics who think we should be pushing for the Champions League. But I don't think... in most people's heads, I think when they think of mid-table, they don't have the consideration of, well, for that to happen, you are going to lose as many games as you win.
Yeah.
Or just slightly either side. I think it to us, 11th is a good position to be in. But that also, when we were finishing 12th and 13th in the Championship and 14th and 15th, and
15th again, and again, and 15th again.
Like, you will win some. There were odd games in there that we'd win 4-0 or whatever, but you are going to lose at least as many as you win when you finish there, and at times you will lurch from woefully inept to glorious attacking football, and with no real rhyme or reason as to why you can't perform like one or the other from week to week, but that's just how it is mid-table.
Yeah. Obviously, as I say, we'll lurch about in terms of the quality of the result. What sort of result will this one be?
I'm gonna be fairly positive about this one. I'm gonna say we win this one. I'd say I'm not feeling confident defensively, so I'm gonna say we win 3-2.
3-2. So early season Leeds are back.
Yes.
I think this will be 1 apiece. We're not going to win. It's in London. We're just not.
No.
I was planning on us on talking for a couple of minutes about the upcoming Youth Cup game, but it kicks off in 19 minutes and the team news isn't out yet. So I can't. But the under-18s are playing in the Youth Cup against MK Dons at 7 o'clock, so in like 19 minutes. It's on all of the LUTV channels, so it'll be on YouTube and stuff. I definitely think it'll be worth a watch. Winners play Newcastle in round 4. I would always advise watching Youth Cup. It's weird because it's not the case at senior level, but the Youth Cup is way bigger than the league.
Yeah, I've always found that quite funny, actually, the Youth Cup, because I wrote it. This is going back a while now when I had a job in PR. But I remember writing an article about kind of the importance that's placed on the Youth Cup. And I suppose if it's your team that wins it, you still remember who was part of that team. Obviously, for us, our main one for you and me would have been the 97 team.
Yeah, we won it in 93 as well, but we don't remember that. No,
I don't remember anything from 93 because, it was, that's middle of 93, so I would have been 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny when you kind of look at those teams and see who went on to play first team football and stayed at the club. And like for us in the 97 team, you had quite a big chunk of that team went on to play. Obviously, that was kind of a year or two before. You had the likes of Woodgate, Smith, McPhail breaking into the team. I think, and even the peripheral players there, because I think you got like Alan Mabry's in there, Lee Matthews is in there. And players like that.
Well, just a quick glance, 97. Paul Robinson, Alan Mabry, Johnny Woodgate, Damien Lynch, who I don't remember. Harry Kewell, Kevin Dixon, who I don't remember. Tommy Narvik, Stephen McPhail, Wesley Boyle, Matthew Jones, Lee Matthews, and then the subs were Stuart Gore and Alan Smith.
I think we all know that Tommy Narvik was the best player in that team.
Tommy Narvik won Leeds United Young Player of the Year, I think, that year.
Yeah. He was one of those, certainly as a kid. He was very hyped up in Leeds anyway.
Yeah.
But now it's interesting with the Youth Cup because I don't think you get as many of those players that progress to the first team.
No, I think the best example recently, and I off the top of my head, I aren't 100% sure which year it was. I think it was 2017. It was Man City and Chelsea in the final. And when you look at the two lineups, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was like Man City's front three is like Jadon Sancho and it was a Mason Mount's playing, and there's a few of it's a really strong year. I can't remember exactly which one it is.
Yeah, I suppose there's some. You do look at the money that like City and Chelsea have put into their academies over the last few years. Arsenal have always put a lot of stock into their academy as well.
Yeah.
It's one of those competitions where I suppose as a football person, your ideal scenario is that this bunch of 16, 17, 18-year-olds win, and then all of them within 3 years are now your first team.
Yeah. Like that, everyone would love that. It never happens, but everyone would love that.
Yeah, I mean, again, just referencing the Youth Cup game we went to with the Man City game, obviously kind of the main ones for Leeds were Malik Wilks and Ronaldo Vieira.
Yeah.
And I think, was Moa in that one? Did we say FC for ASAP? Obviously,
no, I think he'd progressed by that point.
Yeah. And then you had like Lucas Amecha playing for Man City in that one as well. It's just it'll be interesting now because obviously, unless the rules change, we can't sign foreign players under 18 now, can we?
No. Obviously, Radrizzani is looking at buying clubs elsewhere, which I'm assuming is where we'd shove them off to. I know that doesn't sound great and everything, but the truth is we're probably going to have to because everyone else is doing it. Like even Brighton have got a link. Leicester have got Leuven. It's not just something that Man City and Chelsea are looking at. It's all the way through the Premier League. So we're probably going to have to just to stay on an even playing field.
Sorry, it was I've just got the team up for the FA Youth Cup game as well. Jamie Shackleton was in that one.
Yeah.
Tom Pearce, Matty Downing was in there. And then you look like the captain was Mike Taylor. There was someone.
What, as in 50-year-old goalkeeper Mike Taylor?
No,
I believe we did have him at one point, didn't we?
Yes, but it's called Make Taylor. And he was captain. I've no idea who he is, and it probably doesn't help that I think around this time I wasn't playing Football Manager either, so I had no idea who he was. But Clarkador was also on the bench. We had someone called Giovanni Sterling.
Oh, Giovanni Sterling, yeah. I do know of Giovanni Sterling.
I mean, I was there that night, and I clearly didn't pick up on the name Giovanni with a J.
Yeah, because there's quite a few Sterlings. I believe Chelsea had one as well. I've just found that it was one of Chelsea's in that game I was on about was Dujon Sterling.
Liverpool used to have one as well.
But yeah, that was it. In that 2017 final, Chelsea had Reece James, Trevor Chalobah, Mark Guehi, who is now looking brilliant for Swansea, Mason Mount, Callum Hudson-Odoi were like the main ones. And Man City had Brahim Diaz, who's been now playing for Real Madrid, Matt Smith, who's a Welsh international, Lucas Nemecha, Phil Foden, Jadon Sancho. So
solid teams.
Yeah. So you never know. If we watch it tonight in 10 minutes, we may well see someone. Kieran has just sent a message saying that the lineup is out, so I'm just going to quickly have a glance. Yep, there we go. So it will be interesting to if it will ever actually load it. Unfortunately, it won't because it's being a pain in the ass. You know what it's like when stuff like this happens.
We're live, pal.
We are indeed live, and it's trying to look at the lineup has completely and utterly crashed my Chrome.
I'm out of here.
I can't even be out of here because it will not let me close this. So I just have to hope that this is all working because it has completely died.
It's obviously it's a little bit sad as well that there's no crowds for this. I know this one's kind of been moved to York, but the last couple of years, when we went to the game against City, there was a decent crowd there. When we had that away game against Liverpool, was that last year or the year before? And there was a daft amount of Leeds fans that filled that corner.
Yeah, I can remember there being like 1,000 or so at Old Trafford.
I was thinking of the Old Trafford one. The Liverpool one was a few years before.
Yeah, when we played really well, and we got beat 1-0 because they had that. I mean, they had that Hannibal Mabry that they paid £1 million I just tried to say £1 million for as an exaggeration, but they paid like 8 million quid for it.
So you're actually downplaying it.
Yeah. Christian goal, harvests up with Ethan Kachoza, who is like, I believe he is Zimbabwean. So he gets quite a lot of media coverage and stuff. He's looked decent when I've seen him. Coleman and Teal, I'm not as familiar with. Level looks all right. That Alfie Hughes in the middle, I believe he turned down Scum to come to us. Morton Spencer, who played for Sunderland at one point, he's very, very highly rated. Max McMillan, who was pretty highly rated. Keenan Carroll's starting as well. The Snowden, who's also one of them I'm less familiar with. Looking at the bench, like Jamal Chuck was there, Louis Bradbury's on as well, and he's been in quite good goal scoring form from what I've seen on Twitter. I was there's a couple of names missing from that. We must have a few injuries because there's a couple that I'm not as familiar with. Like Jeremiah Mullen isn't involved, and I would have expected him to be because he's looked really good when I've seen him.
This shows kind of my ignorance to our under 18s and 23s. Is Max Dean, would he qualify for this?
He would have done. Max Dean put a picture up on social media a couple of days ago of him with some crutches.
Yeah, he had a protective boot on, didn't he? So
yeah, but he's only just turned 17, so he would have definitely been. He'd have probably played in this. Yeah. But we will call it there, which gives everyone a chance to watch the under 18s because that's what my plan is. So we're on Twitter at Mighty Whites Pod and at MightyWhitesPodcast.com. The audio version of this will just be everywhere that you get podcasts that aren't Acast. The stuff goes up on Through It All Together, which is on Twitter at THIU, it's all LUFC, and throughitalltogether.sbnation.com. Have we got to add, Casey?
No, I think we covered it all today.
Right, nice one. I advise you, if you've got time and you're not doing anything else, I would go watch this Youth Cup game. It should be a decent watch. And I have no way of knowing how strong MK Dons' academy is, but just in theory, it feels like we should win. It definitely feels like it.
Mate, just like when you challenged the Undertaker, you've done it now.
You've gone and made a big mistake. Right, I am going to click end broadcast before I start doing this because it's taken a while last time. So I've been Jack, see ya.
I've been Casey, have a good one.
In a bit. Now we wait because it took ages last time. See, it's amazing.